Man, the zombies in this series aren't even that bad. All you gotta do is get high with them, and then just stay away from the humans because you'll probably have a better time with the zombies than you do with the humans in the series. So I actually just came back from watching Marty Supreme, but I saw 28 years later the Bone Temple like about 2 weeks ago, and I didn't have time to talk about it because I was sick, and now I do have the time to talk about it, and I'm not sick. And the Marty Supreme video will probably be way later when I talk about the Oscars as a whole and I talk about all the movies nominated as a really big video that I'm gonna make. But for now, I'm just gonna talk about 28 years later. I'm honestly really bummed that this movie kind of flopped because the first 28 years later, in my opinion, is honestly, you know, I think it's kind of terrible. It's not terrible, I just didn't like it because it tricked me. I thought 28 years later was just gonna be, a standalone movie, just like how the rest of this trilogy was just a bunch of anthologies that weren't connected, and it will be the last movie to end off on the trilogy. And I did not know that 20 years later as a whole was going to be its own trilogy. So I was really mad when a bunch of plot lines kind of didn't wrap up in the way I thought it would. And so I kind of didn't like the movie. And I came into this movie not expecting much because the ending of the first 20 years later was super goofy. Like a bunch of these blonde wig people came out and saved the main character in this Power Rangers-esque type of scene. But I have to say, I am pleasantly surprised by this movie. It took all the stuff I didn't really care about in the previous movie and threw it all away, and then did something really cool and did a lot of stuff that I liked. You see, I really like when my zombie movies portray humanity as worse than the virus or the infection itself. It's really interesting when you get to paint humanity as this cruel society after everything crumbles and there's an apocalypse. And then you just get, some horrible people running around, and I find that really entertaining. And I think it's really interesting thing to think about. Like my favorite zombie media, The Last of Us, does a really good job at that. And 28 Days Later, the first movie, is a movie that I think does a really good job at that. And 28 years later, The Bone Temple brings a lot of that stuff back, brings a lot of that nature back into the series. First, I want to talk about the antagonist of the movie. Jimmy Crystal was probably one of the best antagonists I've seen in a while, or Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal. He can be charming and slightly humorous and yet so menacing at the same time. I really enjoyed any type of dialogue that came out of his mouth because it was just so engaging and super stressful. And this movie also does a really good job at the point I talked about previously about how humans can be worse than the zombies, because this movie also juxtaposes the character of Jimmy with the character of Samson. Samson is the alpha we saw in the previous movie. I find his plotline the most interesting because you get an amazing performance from him and an amazing performance from Ralph Fiennes as Dr. Ian Cowson. He gives, in my opinion, the best performance in the movie, and he's basically the heart of the movie. And two of his interactions with Samson are just extremely interesting. Like, he's figuring out new things about the virus, about the infection, and it's just so fascinating to watch a doctor get to learn new stuff as he treats his patient. Like, my favorite part of the movie is literally between Samson and Dr. Kelson. I don't want to spoil it, but like, there's this one scene in particular with Samson that really gave me chills in the theaters while watching. It was just the perfect culmination of their plotline, and I think the movie does a phenomenal job at building up to it. This movie is also way more gory than the first one. There are some extremely disturbing scenes in this movie, but I thought it was just super engaging. Like, I just couldn't take my eyes away from it. It was just so disgusting that you just had to keep watching. And it just kind of just shows how evil some of these characters are. And I love how blunt this movie is. It isn't shy about showing the cruelties that the Jimmies do. I do wish we got to see some more characters fleshed out. Like, I wish that the other Jimmies were a little bit more fleshed out. I wish some of the plot lines in the previous movies were kind of fleshed out. Like the plot line with Spike's father, he kind of just disappeared. Like, you don't hear about him in this movie. And his mother isn't even mentioned in this movie. And I kind of don't really like Spike in this movie. He just does a lot of stupid stuff that kind of gets other characters into trouble. But like, he's a kid, so it kind of makes sense. But like, he has like the worst survival instinct of anybody in any zombie apocalypse ever. Overall, this is going to be a fairly short review because, I don't really have much to say about the movie other than just go watch it. and I really don't want it to flop because I'm really excited to see the next installment just because of how good this movie was. It's super interesting and the performances are absolutely amazing. It just makes me want to see more of this world, more of this series. Also, there's this big reveal at the end of the movie, and the previews in my movie theater spoiled it for me. I was so mad. And just with that aside, I'm going to give 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple a 8.5 out of 10.